Yo, 2016 Kia Soul. It's got one of these. I told the victim, just get a converter. He went online and got this thing. Looks like a converter to me. These gaskets are junk. This gasket is junk. Only way I'd put these on is if you like replacing exhaust gaskets. Other than that, I'm tossing it in there. Got a 3/1000 feeler gauge here. It's almost flat enough. I don't know how flat these gotta be. I guess I'll find out if it leaks or not after it's on. I'm gonna start this wonderful journey by disconnecting the oxygen sensors. Looks like it's got a front wideband for this thing. Push in this tab right here. Pop that off. I got my rear oxygen sensor here. I can push in these tabs and get it out of the hole. Push this connector in. 10mm heat shield bolts. Looks like 3 of those. There's a hole down there. I don't really want to take that oxygen sensor out. Fish it up and out of the way like that. I've got a whole bunch of 12mm bolts here. I'm going to try to get out as many as I can from the top. Looks like I can get at them all from the top. I'm under the car. There's a bolt with a bracket on it that's bolted up to the converter. 14mm on this. No, I got a nice and loose converter. I got a 19mm swivel socket on this exhaust flange. Thankfully, those came out without a fuss. I'm going to use a ratcheting strap on this somehow just to pull the exhaust back, try to get it out of my way. That looks like as good of a spot as any. And I got just enough room to get that flange off. I'm pretty sure this is going to come out the top for me. Oh yeah, nice. Lots of room. Lots and lots of room. Imagine that, a car with room. I'm kind of wondering if this manifold's any less flat. It's just a steel plate. Holy, that one's way more warped. So maybe they don't need to be perfect. Got an oxygen sensor wrench here. 4 rusty, crusty 12mm for this heat shield. Got the new converter here. These are 8mm thread pitch and they give me 6mm with the converter. So these are a little smaller. This heat shield doesn't really fit as good as I want it to. I got one bolt that won't line up right. I got it. I'm sure the factory ones are about 12 foot-pounds, but since these are 6mm by 1, I'm going to go 8 foot-pounds or 96 inch-pounds. This wideband is going to get some anti-seize. I always put anti-seize on the threads on these things. I got the factory gasket here, and it's a much better gasket than the one that came with the converter. I have a scraper here. I'm just going to scrape off these big chunks of carbon just to make sure it doesn't fall in between the gasket. Looks like I got everything nice and clean enough. I'm going to reuse the original gasket. These things seal pretty good and it won't blow out on me like the gasket that it's coming with. And if it leaks, I guess I'll just buy a new one, but I don't think it will. In with the new. This nut's stuck for whatever reason. I don't want to reef it down, so I'll take a chance of breaking that stud. 8mm by 125 thread chaser. Yeah, for whatever reason, that stud got boogered up pretty good. I ran a thread chaser down this nut too. I have all these nuts snugged down, probably 5 or 10 foot-pounds. There's a torque sequence I found that looks like this. I'm going to try that. Final torque these at 30 foot-pounds. I got to get my camera out of my way for this procedure. I have these all final torqued. Going straight to 30 foot-pounds didn't feel right, so I torqued them all in sequence at 20 foot-pounds and then stepped it up to 30. That felt right. I think it flattened out real good. I had to use a mid-well socket and a kind of a stubby extension and a swivel to get my torque wrench in there. Now, as far as this bolt goes, it bolts this converter into the bracket. I kind of figured I should have started that before I started all the bolts up on top, and I didn't do that, and I should have, because it's lined up about as good as something that got dropped off of a 20-foot embankment onto a piece of concrete. It's not lined up at all. So I took an alignment punch and I stuck it up in a hole, and I bent that bracket on the converter as best as I could until I could get this bolt started, so I didn't have to loosen up all of them bolts on the manifold again. I'm going to get up here with a really long extension and a swivel socket. I'm sure it'll just go ahead and bend the rest of the way. And I'm going to final torque this one to 36 foot-pounds. I put my studs up in there. I have decided to use the original gasket. I got this junk, muffler cement. This is really good stuff. And I just put a really fine amount on there, not much at all. Slide that up there. Undo my ratcheting strap. They gave me washers and new nuts with this kit. That swivel socket was a little too stubby. I gotta use a deep well and a swivel on this. And final torque it to 40 foot-pounds. Just because I got them, I'm going to put the old nuts on here and double nut it, just for a little insurance, to make sure these nuts don't come off. Just snug them up a little bit. Now we can try and squirrel this heat shield back on. That's nice. This nut is not spot welded on very well at all. It just busted off. What do I do? Cheap and cheesy, cheap and cheesy. Nice. Went to the hardware store and got a 6mm by 1 fender U-clip. This bolt's too short now. 96 inch-pounds or 8 foot-pounds on these two. Now I just need to start it up and make sure there's no exhaust leaks. There should be a plastic cover for this. It's gone. I don't know where it is. That just pops off if you need to get that off. Then I'm going to clear the codes, and it takes anywhere from probably 250 to 500 miles for all the OBD monitors to be completed, just to see if this actually fixed the problem. Sounds good to me. I'm going to call it a job. Okay, bye.